Thanks for stopping by. I did not know that classic TV edition. Please like and subscribe.
I'll think about it.
That's all I ask.
Do you love classic TV and cartoons? Check out the other videos on my channel where we cover everything from The Andy Griffith Show to Batman to Quisp and Quake and many more. Just a quick note, I had a poll asking what other cartoon should be included in this next episode with the Super 6. Super Chicken came out on top big time, but I like to keep these episodes under 10 minutes, and going over each member of the Super 6 took a lot longer than I thought. So I promise Super Chicken will be the main focus on the next episode. Thank you so much for watching. Batfink, the Mighty Heroes, the Impossibles. What do these classic cartoons from the 60s have in common? Well, obviously they're all superheroes, but they are superheroes with some humor thrown in. Maybe we can call them slapstick superheroes. The trend of the humorous superhero became a bit of a fad after Batman and Batmania engulfed the country during the run of the 1960s Batman program. Batman premiered in January 1966, and within a month, the country had Batmania. He even got some short-lived competition on TV with Captain Nice and Mr. Terrific. But I have to admit, my age was in the single digits at the time, and I had no idea that Batman operated on 2 levels until many years later when I caught reruns on TV. I thought the whole thing was serious. It wasn't long before cartoons began to produce comical superheroes like the Mighty Heroes and the Impossibles. The Super 6 were also about a group of super crime fighters with a lot of silliness mixed in. They worked for an agency called Super Services Incorporated. When I started getting requests for more of these forgotten superheroes, some YouTubers asked about doing the Super 6, and I said I didn't recall them. But as I started watching some of the episodes, slowly but surely the cartoons started to come back to me. I think the trigger was coming across the Siamese Triplets, the Mazzarelli Brothers cartoon, who had their own separate show on the Super 6. You don't forget someone who looks like that. Then hearing the Super 6 theme song.
Super strong men who are called the Super 6. Super 6! Super 6!
Brought it all back to me. The theme was sung by Gary Lewis and the Playboys, Jerry Lewis's son. You might recall their most famous hit, This Diamond Ring. While the cartoon ran for 3 years, only 20 episodes were made, so they were rerun in year 2 and 3. They had some pretty awesome looking superheroes. Let's take a look at them. Let's start with Captain Zammo, who actually began as Captain Whammo, but was forced to change his name.
Waiting for assignments are such superheroes as Super Lightning, Super Viking, Super Plume, and Captain Whammo.
Do you remember hula hoops, frisbees, slip and slide, silly string, and other toys? Of course you do. Well, if you recall, they were made by a company called Whammo. That name was trademarked, and evidently they didn't like sharing Whammo with a cartoon character, so the creators of Captain Whammo were forced to change his name to Zammo after the first episode. By the way, what was the first commercial that appeared on Captain Whammo? A Super Bowl commercial, which, if you recall, is made by Whammo. Captain Zammo sounds and acts a bit like Dudley Do-Right.
Halt! In the name of all that's good and true!
He has a sidekick called Private Hamo, who Captain Zammo often makes do a lot of his dirty work. Zammo has super strength, and both Hamo and Zammo can fly. They both had the ability to time travel and get involved in famous conflicts. In this episode, they come to the aid of George Washington. It reminded me a bit of how Mr. Peabody and Sherman would time travel and they would fix historical events.
How would you like a punch in the mouth? Well, offhand, I don't think I'd appreciate that, no. You see, I just had these front ones recapped.
In fact, you can hear some of the same voices from that cartoon in the Super 6. Superman often would yell out, Up, and away when he would leave an area. Not to be outdone, whenever Captain Zammo made an exit, he also did it with his own saying and with dramatic flair.
Say, before you go, would you mind doing that clever exit for me just once more? General Washington, I would be delighted. Hither, yonder, and away! Gee, but I just love that kind of talk.
Granite Man is a statue that comes to life when Percival the Pigeon comes to him and says,
Granite Man, oh rock of power, awake in face of this dangerous hour.
Oh, hello, Percy. What's the trouble?
I thought you might enjoy seeing an early drawing of what he originally was going to look like. He has super strength and powerful punches.
Over the fence you go! Yeah!
He seems almost invincible, but evidently could be destroyed because at one point, Percival warns him about a potentially fatal fall from a great height.
Boy, look at that. Fall down there and you've had it.
He's very polite and speaks like he is from the upper class of society.
Percival, we must seek out this fiend and return him to the forces of law and order. Let's go!
He's a pretty unusual superhero. I think one flaw that I see is that being a statue, he looks a little stiff, and it appears like the only one he could beat in a foot race would be the Mummy. Magneto Man has a Cockney accent, as does his young sidekick. I read in a few places that Magneto Man talked like Cary Grant.
Give back the crown jewels.
I don't think so. I think they were actually going more for Michael Caine.
Hello, my name is Michael Caine.
His sidekick is a boy named Cal, who is super smart.
That does not compute.
Like his name implies, Magneto Man uses magnet power to his advantage, and he can do things like hitch rides on moving vehicles using his magnet power, or pull nails from a crate he's trapped in like this.
Tell Superintendent Crumpet that I'm frightfully sorry I had to leave.
The ocean. Say no more. This is a job for Super Scuba.
Super Scuba appears to be a merman because he doesn't need any kind of breathing apparatus when he's underwater. He's kind of an Aquaman type character. He's very laid back and he likes to play golf underwater. It's pretty obvious he appears to be an underwater version of Dean Martin.
Right in.
At the time, Martin was beginning to star in a series of films as Matt Helm, a James Bond type character. Super Scuba has a secretary mermaid named Bubbles, who sounds a lot like Carol Channing. She's clearly in love with him and is constantly telling him how wonderful he is. And he agrees.
Gee, I bet you're the best golfer in the whole world.
Funny you should say that, Bubbles, honey. I was just thinking the same thing.
Like the others, he has super strength, but his heroics are done underwater.
For Super Scuba.
Elevator Man is basically like Ant-Man or the Atom. He can become very large or very small. I found an early sketch of him which looks very different from the one they used in the series. He narrates his own episodes much like a 1950s detective like Sam Spade used to do.
Then I got a strange feeling that I was being watched. I was right.
He is able to control his size by pushing a button on his belt buckle, and as you just saw, this can create problems if he becomes too small. But he can also push the button and make himself grow to a tremendous size, which makes it easy to catch
To their
criminals.
amazement, the highway suddenly changed into a dead-end street. It had been a long night, even for me. Elevator Man.
And that's your Super 6. What, you say that's only 5 superheroes? And that is correct. As I dug through newspaper articles about the show, I found that there was actually supposed to be a 6th superhero called Super Stretch, but he was dropped for some odd reason before the show aired. So it's really the Super 5. So what you ended up with was a wannabe superhero named Super Bwoing.
All alone at the end of the bench sits Super Bwoing, an apprentice with the firm.
He has a voice that sounds like Jimmy Stewart and is a complete bungler. Imagine if Gilligan from Gilligan's Island suddenly had superpowers. He flew around on his guitar and was desperate to take any jobs that the real superheroes didn't or couldn't take.
This is a job for Super Bwoing. Zip, slam, sow-yam, Super Bwoing scans the landscape for signs of the Martian invaders.
He often has trouble with his superpowers, especially his laser eyes, and things often go badly for him.
3 years I've been working on this paint, and I finally finished it, buddy boy. I call it the burning of Rome. Take a gander at it.
Oh, the burning of Rome, huh? Sure looks realistic. I'll fix your little red wagon.
But in the end, it always works out.
Happy landings, wise guy. Help! Help!
I'm sure there are many that probably love this character, but after again watching a few episodes, it came back to me why I was a bit lukewarm for this show. Each weekly episode always started off with a segment of Super Bwoing. Next came the Mazzarelli brothers. That meant that only one real superhero appeared at the end of that week's show. So let's say your favorite was Magneto Man. You'd only get to see him once every 5 weeks. I think the 5 should have been the main focus, with Super Bwoing just occasionally popping in. What do you think? Well, that'll do it for this one. Thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll see you soon.